Hey, welcome back to the Take a Shot MMA edition, podcast number 2. Let's take a shot.
Take a shot.
To the GOAT, John Jones.
John Jones.
Bones Jones.
So, I'll be the first to say
Hey, Pussy, are you still there?
I was pretty wrong on the fight.
What was that? There's duty on your
Pizza sauce. Tomato sauce.
Wipe your ass with that shit?
Anyways.
Throw that away.
Jeff had called me the night of the fight. I wasn't able to watch it with you guys. And
Pussy!
Yep.
Yep.
And he asked me, what's your thoughts? And I was trying to, look at it from a Vegas standpoint. And I was like, you know what? I like Gane as the underdog. Jones has been out of it for a while, and Gane hasn't. And I told Jeff, I was like, you know what? If I was in Vegas or I was at a casino, I'd probably be throwing my money on Gane as an underdog.
And all the people that bet on John Jones were like, thank you.
Yep, and I was wrong. Jones showed himself as the GOAT.
Yeah, and he made it look easy. Probably the easiest title. I don't say, there's guys that get hit with shots that are, like Conor versus Aldo, where you're like, oh, wow, his footwork, the way he planned that's all great. And he got hit with a great shot. I've never seen a guy that didn't get, knocked out immediately. I've never seen a guy look so outmatched in a title fight. It just looked like he didn't belong there.
Well, and then Caleb's not too far off because when we looked up the actual odds of Vegas, Jones winning by either knockout, submission, or a TKO, it was like plus 350. It was like, if not plus 300, so on and so forth. So for him finishing the fight, it wasn't too far off from Vegas odds saying this is a underdog in the fact that Jones was going to end this in the first round. The only person that I think got it right was Drake, because he put almost $500,000.
Well, it's about time he got a bet right, because he's been losing a lot of them.
So it's like, if you were Drake, other than that, it's like, I think everybody in the world, literally played the safe bet and thought Jones was just going to win by decision.
I just think, I hadn't seen enough from Cyril Gane to say, oh, yeah, that's definitely going to work out against John Jones.
But in the first round, in the first minute and a half, to think that Jones was just going to submit his ass, it was all.
I thought he was going to submit him. I did not think it was going to be that quickly.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. We kind of figured, the play out situation that we see.
Within 3 rounds, I thought he might get to him, but
a lot of fights that we see, with whether it's O'Malley and Peter Yan and so on and so forth, even Usman and Edwards.
Yeah.
A lot of guys like to take that time to figure each other out and throw jabs and kicks and so on and so forth to try to, play into their game plan of what they're going to eventually do afterwards. But it was just the pure, as soon as Jones had the opportunity, took his back, got him on the ground. And that's what's, to me, is more astronomical, is that Jones just got up to this weight class, and he if you look at the stereotypical, definitive body type of a fighter, Jones looked like he just drank a 30-pack of Bud Light.
He looked a little pudgy.
Yeah, and went out there. He looked like what Nick Diaz whenever he fought
Robbie Lawler.
Yes, exactly. And it was just crazy to see that the dominance that Jones took him down and kept him on the ground and eventually got him up to the cage and used his dominance and his strengths to win the fight. And it was just crazy to see that.
Which leads me to believe that if it would have been Francis instead of Cyril, it might have been a little tougher. And obviously you got to watch out for Francis's hands. But I feel like we get a similar result.
But yeah, the fact that, Gane has fought at this weight class and he's, only one loss and it's against, Francis and so on and so forth. And you would think he would prep and train and so on and so forth. And he had such a upcoming and projection of being one of the next great fighters at heavyweight and so on and so forth. And it's just crazy to think that John Jones went in there and just dominated like that.
Didn't even have to use his striking.
Like I said, and it wasn't even like Jones went in there and seriously took him down. He just saw the awkwardness of Gane on that missed punch
and took the opportunity,
grabbed his back, took him down.
It was a missed kick. Yeah, he went for a spinning kick or something like that.
And that was it. It was over. It was over from there. It's all we've seen guys like Brock Lesnar or, I mean, there's just too many great, heavyweight fighters that have the big hands that you just can't do that to, so on and so forth. And Jones just made it look so easy. It's mind-boggling.
I want people to chill out on Cyril Gane getting a title shot again because he's 0 for 2. He got out-wrestled in both of them. The first one he got wrestled by Francis, which I told you before the fight that's what John was saying. He said, I watched all the tape of Cyril Gane, and he goes, I watched him get outworked by Francis Ngannou. He's like, if you get outworked by Francis Ngannou, you ain't going to outwork me. He's like, that's not going to happen. So that was telling. Where does this put John? I mean, we already say John Jones is the GOAT, right? We all agree with that. Where does this put John as far as like all-time heavyweights? I mean, winning a heavyweight title, you could say maybe it wasn't valid because there's no official heavyweight champion that he took over. But I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see like the Stipe fight. Like I think we agree that John's going to win that. But if John beats Stipe, can you make the case John is the greatest heavyweight of all time?
I mean, you could definitely make that argument. Are we all in agreement? That's the next fight because Francis obviously isn't coming back anytime soon.
Dana confirmed it that Stipe's next.
Yeah. So I think that if he beats Stipe, I don't know if you could say he's the greatest in the heavyweight term yet. Because there's some other really greats out there. I mean, even if you look at somebody like, Jeff was just talking about Brock Lesnar, right?
Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, Cain.
Fabricio Verdum, Fedor, but obviously Fedor never fought in the UFC.
Well, even Andre
Andre Arlovsky.
Yeah.
But even look at,
Frank Mir.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to bring up Frank Mir, look at what Brock Lesnar did to Frank Mir.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Second
made him
fight.
look like a ragdoll.
But you're seeing the over what is it? I don't know the word for it, but just like the over categorized of like how the heavyweight is right now. There's no overall mixed martial artists right now in the heavyweight division besides Stipe. I guess
I heard that Aspinall guy's pretty good, and he's overall really good.
Aspinall's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because that's the heavyweight division. You get knockouts. That's what happens. It's not light heavyweight or it's not middleweight. It's not the lower classes where you get somebody that's overall, GSP.
And that division's not very deep because there's just not a lot of humans that are that big that can fight.
Exactly.
Or at least fight and have the cardio.
Exactly. The last time I think we talked about, and he holds the record, but we tried to give, a little bit of, grace and competence to, Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis just goes out there and just knocks people out. That's it. There is no overall construction of, like, he's an overall great MMA fighter.
No,
he knows jiu-jitsu. He knows wrestling. I mean,
he can do some crazy kicks sometimes.
Even Daniel Cormier, he lost to Stipe. You know what I'm saying? It's not nothing too far from the heavyweight division that you get someone that's overall just from top to bottom. Hey, this is the ultimate.
I just think if John Jones wanted to, I don't think he will, but I think if he wanted to, I think he could like fight the top 8 guys in the division over the next like 3 years, and I think he'd beat all of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's what's just like him beating Gane the way he did. It just shoots in the future aspect of, okay, Francis might get his boxing match against Fury or whatever he wants to do, just like McGregor did, so on and so forth. Okay, we get that. In the future, once Jones beats Stipe, if not has that challenge against Stipe, what else is next for Jones? I mean, there's not a whole lot of competition besides Francis.
Brock Lesnar.
Well, I don't think.
But that's the thing. You're talking about Brock Lesnar that's going on pushing 50 years old. You know what I
No,
mean?
he's 45.
All right, but you're still talking in a fantasy land at that point.
Yes.
Oh, it's a super fight. It's not a who's the most deserving of the title shot and who's the best heavyweight. It's
who can draw the most money.
Correct.
And views.
And to be fair, do I think John Jones would piece up Brock Lesnar because of his martial artist ability and his intelligence? Yes.
Yep.
That being said, Brock still has that wild card of the freak
But
show.
That ground and pound.
Yeah.
But that's what you're getting at. You're getting at the wild card aspect of, okay, can somebody be big enough or strong enough to take down Jones and try to beat him?
Yeah.
It's like the only competition that I see is obviously Francis because of his punching power.
Yeah.
If he lands one punch on
Right.
Jones, because we've seen it with Jones, what was it, Reyes?
Reyes hit him with some stuff. I wouldn't say wobbled him, but he did damage on Jones. He got
that was the most human that he's looked in the octagon.
Even what was his
aside
name?
from Gustafsson, the first
Yeah,
one.
Gustafsson.
Yeah.
things like that. Even Cormier, you know what I'm saying? He had some pretty good battles, especially in the first and second fights. But Jones ended up winning. Besides when he tested positive, and But and that's the thing with Jones. It's like, man, this guy is not just fighting for the relative to be present in the UFC right now. He's fighting for history and greatness.
Oh yeah, legacy matters to him. When people have said you're the GOAT since he was what, like 26, people call him the GOAT like 5 years in. I feel like,
and it's more of the GOAT aspect because of the fact that what he's already done at light heavyweight to now what he can do at heavyweight.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if Jones gets on a regiment that trains him for heavyweight now material and training, so on and so forth, that he looks like a Gane or he looks like a Francis, that he's ripped and shredded and muscular.
Because he's a better fighter than all those guys.
Yes, and loses the fat. Whether it matters or not, because personally, after that fight that I just saw, it doesn't even really matter if he looks like he's shredded fucking,
He said he wants to be a little more toned and shredded going into the next fight because he said he didn't like the way he was.
And that's fine. But in the same sense, it's like... But that's
he doesn't really need it.
That's the only thing... Yes. And that's the only thing that puzzles me, if not is curiosity to me, is when he fights Stipe. Because Stipe is known for going the 5-round distance.
He's got the cardio. He can do it.
And that's what Jones said to Gane. He's like, I'm willing to grind it out with him. So let's see if Jones is actually willing to grind it out with Stipe.
I think with Stipe, I don't think he'd try to wrestle him. I think he'd try to basically go, Francis knocked
you out. He grinds it out.
But he'd be like,
grinds it out.
But he'd be like, Francis knocked you out. He's like, I want to test that chin, and I think he would try to put some shots on him to see if he can. Like, hey, have you recovered from that or not?
And in all honesty, we're talking about what's that big challenge for Jones at this point. And, Stipe's a great next opponent if you're looking at who's available today.
Stipe's considered one of the greatest.
Most people consider him the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time.
But you look at, what's the best opportunity for Jones to cement himself as a heavyweight? It's beating Francis. That's the card that's on the table.
Right, but it sounds like Dana has said that he's like, Francis will never fight in the UFC again. He said that.
Yeah.
So.
But money talks.
Yeah. If Francis says, "Hey, the price I was asking for, I'll do half of that."
I want to fight Jones. They're going to do that fight if that's what it comes
not even necessarily money talks. It's just the fact that the aspects of if Jones does beat Stipe in pretty good, orderly fashion, I think Francis comes along and says, "Okay," and if enough smack talk from whether it's fans, from Jones, so on and so forth, it has to puzzle. Francis to a point to where it's like, okay, well, I left on top. Now the newest guy.
Yeah, and it would answer the questions that most fans have of, okay, Francis left with the belt. Are you
versus Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it sounds like as of right now, it's not going to happen. I agree with you. Money with anything can happen. But
who does Francis fight at this point? Does he fight Fury?
Well, here's the thing. Chael Sonnen brought this up, and I agree with him. It's a good
Probably
point.
Fury.
He said no, but he talked about that boxing match, and he goes, "Here's the thing. You have major value going into boxing if you're Francis. If you're the heavyweight champ," he's like, "You're not the heavyweight champ anymore." He's like, "You don't have that belt anymore." So he's like, "What are you?"
I don't like the factor of, oh well, he's not a heavyweight champ. He is the heavyweight champ. He is the guy. Whether you strip the title,
but to us he is. But he's talking about to casual fans or boxing fans. He goes, if you don't have that belt attached to your name, they're like, "Who are you, Francis?" "Oh, okay, you're that guy that knocked some people out in the UFC." They're not. That belt matters.
Because when Conor went and did his fight,
he was still the current
lightweight champion. It was hey, we're bringing this guy from UFC.
In the same sense,
the champion.
Dana, the reigning, defending him, getting red faced.
But in the same sense, Jake Paul and Tommy Fury are getting noticeable for their fights. So I would imagine if you're the average fight fan, you would know who Francis is. Going into a boxing match with Tommy Fury.
I still think they can get it done, but I think Tyson Fury pieces him up because the boxing skill that Tyson Fury has is like Francis has never seen anything like that.
Well, it's
if anything, it's a money grab for both of them, right?
Once again, the same fight like he fought against Wilder. Wilder has the dominant. There's no aspect. Yeah. When you watch those fights against Wilder versus Fury, Wilder has the power over Fury. It's just like you said, Fury's just able to piece you up.
Yeah.
He's able to stay in there and take the punches and
Now, if you put them in an octagon and they have MMA gloves, I'm not even saying Francis versus Tyson Fury. But here's what I'm saying. Tyson could still piece him up as far as the boxing, but because you're using MMA gloves, Francis basically just has to hit him one fucking time and he's probably going to sleep.
Well, even just a little...
Even if you just do a boxing, and you know, you keep with all of the boxing rules, but you just do lighter gloves, I still kind of like Francis in that, right?
Well, even
I was saying regular gloves, but if they're lighter gloves,
just a little bit of wrestling that Francis has learned, it's all like, okay, well then he could, if worst case scenario, he gets stunned and he could easily
forget the wrestling for a minute. If you just do lighter gloves and it's just a boxing match,
that's what I'm saying. If it's just a boxing match, it's like Fury
with lighter gloves. You still think that?
I still think Fury pieces him up,
and I don't think you're wrong. I just think that gives Francis a little bit of an advantage.
Maybe lighter gloves, but like as soon as they go to MMA gloves, and because boxers are so used to being able to like use the gloves as a shield, it's like you can't do that in MMA with these gloves. Aren't
So you go to MMA gloves and keep boxing rules.
Yeah, you can try that, but like I said, because of the power differential of you using MMA gloves, like I said, it's very hard to do a whole fight, do boxing, not do ground game, and not get hit once by Francis, because that's kind of all it takes.
But scary. In the same sense, that's why we haven't seen anybody from the MMA transition over to the boxing so well, because boxing is a whole nother different aspect.
And I think Conor really held his own in that fight.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong, but there was a reason why he couldn't knock out, if not stay and compete with.
Because those gloves just aren't meant for that.
Exactly. That's why I don't really like boxing like that. Because if it was MMA gloves, but they did boxing, Floyd versus Conor, and they weren't in a ring, they were in an octagon, Conor might have better success because, like I said,
he could track him down.
Floyd can't just do this and go, you can't get through me like that. Like, he can't do that.
Like, those are heavy. I don't like that aspect because it's heavier gloves. So then, like,
but Conor's a bigger,
technically a bigger punch that you're taking compared to lighter gloves.
No, you aren't taking it shields more of the power when you're wearing a box glove. When you wear an MMA glove, you take more damage when you punch, but you also dish out more. And that's why UFC has so many, that's why they talk about with heavyweights. You just get knocked out nonstop because it's like there's nothing to protect you from that.
Well, then that will always separate the fact of boxing and MMA. But when you're strictly talking about boxing, nobody in the MMA, whether it's Nate Diaz, the fucking...
What's up, motherfucker?
Yeah, exactly. The fucking, fucking zombie, this and that. No, nobody transitions over to boxing because of just the control and the aspect of, the technique, the stamina, so on and so forth in boxing that you're going against in MMA. No one's ever going to transition strictly out of that.
They don't have the time to catch up to those guys as far as the amount of repetition.
Because Francis in the MMA looks fast and he looks strong, but
compared to boxing,
he's not on that level.
No.
If we ever see him and Fury,
I'm putting my money on Fury.
Yes.
Yeah, and in all honesty, we just talked about it, but for either one of them in that type of fight, Fury and Francis, it's a money grab for both of them.
Oh yeah.
It's a chance to go and make money. They're not. Neither one of them are gaining anything legacy wise from winning that. Francis probably has a little bit more.
He has the opportunity that if you beat Tyson Fury in a boxing match, that's gigantic.
Sure, but I mean, neither one of them are gaining huge things for themselves other than money from that fight.
Like I said, if Francis wins that fight, his career changes drastically. Where now
he can go be a boxer.
Correct. Because it's like you just beat the dude that nobody else has really been able to beat.
But do we really think that he can beat that guy?
No.
No.
Not with boxing gloves. If he
could he go and look decent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, I just think because of how his stature is, how big he is, we think he's fast in the UFC.
No, but I agree with you. I think he does move too slow for someone like Tyson Fury.
In the boxing, he doesn't have the jab. He doesn't have... That's why boxing is a whole other sport compared to MMA, because of the fact that,
it's the art of, like, how to attack this small window that I have here. How do I attack this? That's basically, it's the art of that.
It's speed and agility and somewhat power after a certain aspect of it. And if you have all of it, then you're overall a good boxer. But in the same sense, I mean, probably 8, 7, 9, almost. I'd probably say 8 or 7, 8 or 9 times out of 10, boxing matches go to decision. I mean, it's not like...
a lot of times they're boring.
Besides the amateur fights and little things like that, and you're seeing a dominant fighter go against, somebody that's not the greatest. Boxing matches are usually, I think, considered based on, decisions more than the UFC, where it's like one strike, one hit, can actually change the fact of a fight. So, like I said,
We got enough to finish that off. Let's finish it off.
and vice versa. Imagine if Fury went into the MMA. Imagine if Mayweather went into the MMA.
They'd get destroyed.
Mayweather gets
no competition.
Mayweather gets destroyed because any of those guys would take his ass to the ground and he'd get ragdolled because he's built.
Yeah. And the same
I'm sorry,
thing,
but
I think the same thing with Fury. I think Fury is just so built and structurally
he's different.
His body type at boxing that he gets away with it.
I think Fury's a little different because Fury, the bigger man at heavyweight, like don't get me wrong, a guy like Curtis Blades would be like, oh yeah, that's like easy money because he would just take him to the ground. But there's not a whole lot of heavyweights that are actually amazing wrestlers right now. It's basically Curtis Blades, and everybody else is kind of just like a knockout. Like Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, those aren't ground guys.
Yeah, but even then, I think even Derek Lewis or, like you said,
Tai Tuivasa.
He's
scared of that name.
But they have the
How do you say that?
They have just the amateur aspect.
Tuivasa.
They have just the amateur aspect of taking someone down, and Fury does.
And that's all it would take in a fight like
exactly.
I know, but
you don't even. Have
I think
to be
once
good
again,
at it.
I think Derek Lewis would even go outside of his reigns and actually take down Fury.
I think they would try.
Beat him in a
a little ground and pound with
we don't.
I think they would try, but these guys that never use it, I get worried that like how much are they actually practicing or are they actually good at it? Because
I think if they had a camp, then like, hey, in 3 months you're gonna fight Tyson Fury, then that's all 3 months they would have.
I know,
but
but
training
but Tyson Fury can't practice that either.
That's
sure he could,
because they're both using the same amount of wrestling in their fights. I'll let you go say. I'm sorry, but. Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, they don't use wrestling and when they fight. They never use it. So it's like, yeah, anyway, go ahead.
No, but that's the same as your argument. Just because they don't use it doesn't mean they don't know it. And that's the thing.
And they probably know it better than Fury.
Exactly.
I'm sure they know it better than
because
him, but
Fury's
I'm saying
probably going on purely based on like I said, like Jake Paul and all these amateur guys that want to, act like, okay, I'm a wrestler. You don't go into the MMA as a strict, I'm just a stand-up fighter. Even Jorge Masvidal knows how to take someone down. Even Conor McGregor knows how to take someone down.
I'm not saying they don't know how. What I'm saying is that how quickly can you catch up is my question. Because, like, if you're not this, like, if you don't have a big wrestling background and you're just a guy that's like, yeah, I learned some of it because I'm an MMA fighter.
I think a lot of these guys that you underestimate because, whether Derek Lewis, I think in high school, him...
I know he did football. That was a big thing he said, but
that's what I'm saying. These guys know the resemblance of always in their careers of knowing somewhat of a wrestling background.
I think it goes both ways. We were just talking about, like Connor or Francis going and fighting. It takes so much time to catch up to the boxing side of things. It would take so much time for a boxer to catch up to the MMA side of things.
But the difference is, like, if they go to boxing, that's Tyson Fury's bread and butter. That's what he does all the time, every time.
I agree.
If he goes to MMA and they're all of a sudden like, I'm going to become a wrestler, I think they could try it. But I just, like, I'm telling you right now, like, I haven't done a shit ton of fucking, like, wrestling, but at the same time, I've done a little bit. The average dude that's like, I know a little bit of wrestling, and he's, like, my similar size, I like my chances. Now, you say it's a little cocky, whatever. Now, if you got a wrestling background and you do it against me, yeah, you probably are going to have a lot better luck because you know the different techniques. I just don't. Tai Tuivasa is not from a place that like really practices wrestling. He's Australian. They don't really do that a whole lot.
But then you're going into that aspect. Say Fury gets him down. He does a double leg, single leg, whatever it is. He gets him
What's
down.
he going to do with it once he has it?
Exactly.
I give you that. I don't think he'd know any submissions in time.
More than
like, he
just
wouldn't learn
wrestling.
any of that stuff.
It's more than just wrestling at that.
He would try to ground and pound, but other than that, he probably wouldn't know really what to do.
Because then there comes into play because wrestlers usually predominantly they will guillotine you. They will
work towards a submission or ground and
pound, so on and so forth. Because then that plays into the factor of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so on and so forth. Different techniques to actually submit someone.
Yeah, I'm sure if it got.
There's no way in the 6 months or the year time frame that Tommy Fury gets trained on, he knows these aspects.
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. My bad.
Whichever one.
Yeah. Mike Tyson, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike Tyson, Larry Tyson.
I think he can pick up. I think he can
just
pick
like-
up on some like wrestling defense, but I agree with you. He's probably not going to master any submissions in that amount of time.
It's just like my aspect. Like I didn't.
He might win a scorecard.
I didn't join wrestling until I was 17 years old. Well, I had the strength against a lot of guys, but I didn't know the technique.
Yeah.
And so that's where I lost a lot of matches. And so that's where, even though you have the strength, it doesn't mean you have the technique.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you talk about like some guy like Curtis Blades, I'm like, oh yes, I 100% agree with you. But these guys like Derek and Ty, that I'm like, I don't think they're using their wrestling hardly at all, because they never show it ever in any fight. And even when they're wobbled, they don't go, I'll try and take that guy down. They don't do that.
Those are the only ones that I think out of circumstances that, like, maybe you talk about Derek Lewis versus Tommy Fury in an MMA fight. And that's why we say worst case scenario or best case scenario, Derek Lewis takes him down.
Mm-hmm.
He's been trained in that. He knows that technique. Whether it works or not, because he's not as efficient as some of the other guys, that's understandable. But in the same sense, when we're talking about Tommy Fury's not fighting scraps. He's fighting the best
Tyson
of the best. He's fighting... or Tom... Yeah, I keep saying Tommy.
Well, Tommy just beat like Jake Paul.
Tommy's a fucking loser.
Tommy just beat Jake Paul, didn't
You know
he?
what? So, first of all, I know we didn't catch on it last episode, but my bum of the week is Tommy Fury. The fact that you had a, 6, 7, whatever round fight, and you couldn't knock out Jake Paul, and you talked all this shit about how you're a professional boxer, and you couldn't knock out a fucking amateur boxer that's beating up fucking Nate Robinson and all these other fucking old guys. The fact that you couldn't knock him out, you literally had to win by split decision. You're a bum, bro. You're never going to have a career in boxing. You're never going to go anywhere.
I was wanting Jake Paul to get knocked out, and I was a little disappointed.
I don't understand how people are all like, oh, Tommy Fury beat him, Jake Paul's nothing. I'm all like, but he beat him by split decision.
I'm with you, Jeff. If you're
Tommy Fury is a professional, actual professional boxer, and you beat Jake Paul.
But he's big because of his name.
Well,
but you beat him by split decision.
Here's my question.
At one point, Jake Paul knocked Tommy Fury down by a left hook.
What's their weights? Because I know a lot of times the Paul brothers like to fight guys that are smaller than them. Is Tommy Fury smaller than them?
They were supposedly the same size, but to me, looking at them, I'm pretty sure Tommy weighs more than Jake. Jake does not walk around at 200 and something 5, over 210 pounds. Jake probably weighs around 200, if not. That's on a good day.
While we're doing this, we just got an update. Alexander Volkov, heavyweight, knocked out Alexander Romanov. I don't know who that is. In 2 minutes, knocked him out in the first round. So... live update.
Weight-wise, I mean, I know it's obvious, but weight-wise, they did weigh in within a pound of each other.
Okay. Well, that's the thing, yeah. If that's the case, then okay, I'm cool.
What 183 to 184?
Yeah, that's fine. Then that means similar size. I just had a problem with before, like, Tyron Woodley versus, like, Jake Paul.
Yeah, it was a big weight difference.
Yeah, because Woodley's not... I mean...
Yeah, but that to me isn't too much big, because... Yeah, Woodley cuts weight to 170 at welterweight, but he probably walks around at close to 190.
But he's also like a very short man, so like that doesn't help him either.
To me that one's not too big. It's guys like, once again, Nate Robinson or who's the other?
Ben Askren.
Yes, Ben Askren. Anderson Silva, that's so old that it's all like, if you get one good punch on him, and even then, it's not like Jake Paul went out there and knocked Anderson Silva out. Or anything
that was a decision, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a decision.
So can I shift gears on 285
You can shift gears with me anytime. Do you know what that's from?
No, but that sounded a little...
Okay.
Gay. So, again, I watched the highlights. I didn't watch it with you guys. So you guys might tell me a little bit different story, but are we laying... Is this a funeral for Shevchenko? Is she done?
I'm not gonna lie. It is very interesting to me. I get it. John Jones, so on and so forth. But the Shevchenko fight, holy moly. It's just like when Amanda Nunes went down. And I get it. She's getting a second chance. But in the same sense, imagine the odds if anybody would have put fucking money on that fight.
Missed opportunity.
Yes, it's a certain missed opportunity. I think, once again, it's almost like the Amanda Nunes, when they run it back, I think Shevchenko is going to...
Is going to figure out a way to win that?
Yes. I think it almost takes something like this because of the competitiveness and what you've gone through in your history of fighting, you haven't had a lot of...
You got to lose sometimes.
You haven't had a lot of diversity. You know, so it's all like, okay, I got this one. It was kind of a fluke.
Did she seem... Because, again, I just watched the highlights.
She seemed kind of... It was weird because she seemed kind of hesitant. She didn't seem as free-falling like...
As she normally is.
Well,
Yes.
here's how I view it.
To me.
I thought she lost the previous fight. It was a wrestler that she went up against. It was like last year.
Yeah, but they gave it to her in the decision.
She gave it to her. I thought she lost 4-1. I thought the girl basically just controlled position with grappling or whatever. Anyway,
so we're not doing a shot and saying Shevchenko is... We're not doing a shot for her funeral?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I don't think she's done yet.
In the same sense, yeah, time is ticking.
If she wouldn't have got finished in the 4th round, me and Jeff both had it 2-2 going into the 5th. So it's like... It's not like she was getting completely outclassed, but it was definitely like, oh, you got some competition now. And that girl was outstriking her in certain areas. But, what's up?
In the trash. Yeah. I think the strategy-wise...
I realized that needed more explanation.
Yeah, sorry. I think just the strategy-wise coming into it, it was very weird for her to see the way she was, Shevchenko, because, like I said, she wasn't free-falling. She wasn't free... You know, like,
she wasn't as loose as she normally is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
it seems like she was almost timid, if not just kind of almost worried about the aspect. And it's the same thing.
She's not used to the competition. Because she's not used to being like someone being like, hey, I can fucking strike with you too. She's not used to that. She's used to girls being like, I just went 1-1 in my last 2 fights. I'm ready for a title shot. And then she head kicks them into the fucking next dimension. So
I mean, that's what sucks kind of about the women's division. And I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with it because now it brings competition and, you know, upseats.
Yeah, because for how long has it been Nunez and Shevchenko?
Basically
and
the last
Rose,
like 6 years.
The
Rose and then before
even
she retired,
even Rose, it was
Joanna Jędrzejczyk, like those.
Yeah, just
and then
really
Wei Li,
that
and then Wei Li
divisions.
were like those
Wei
are the
Li,
five.
yeah.
Those are the 5 female fighters. You're like, yeah, I'll watch them fight. Everybody else, you're like, I don't really care. So
I mean, it was interesting. Don't get me wrong, but in the same sense, it just doesn't all of a sudden boat me to the next fight. If they run it back, I'm all like, oh my god, Shevchenko's like, she's done for. It's not like a Ronda Rousey where it was all like you could tell the decline from Ronda Rousey.
well, you could tell that Ronda was going against, like I said, Holly and
top,
the Nunez
yes.
girls that were like, you can't strike with me. I can outstrike you all day, every day. And like
Yeah.
Amanda was like,
Yeah.
I fight like a man and you don't. So you're in for a world of hurt. So, what you got?
Well, I did, because we got 1 shot left. I did want to do a shot for Chris's favorite fighter, as we do lay this one down and do a funeral.
Darren Till.
No.
Fuck.
Jeff Neal.
Take a shot for Darren Till.
I love Darren Till.
He's a bum.
Jeff Neal proved me wrong.
Well, he lost,
He lost, but it was a great fight. Okay, let's
It
talk
was
about
a
that
great fight. It was a good fight.
That guy that he fought, what's his name? Rachmanov or something?
Yeah, Shavkat Rakhmov.
Okay, you didn't watch him fight.
But
He's undefeated.
But that dude was like a fucking Terminator.
Yeah. That dude's undefeated. He'd already the highlights they showed even before the fight. I watched him and I go, that guy. You can tell like with O'Malley, you guys saw and you were like, he has like future champion. Like he's got the it factor. That kid's got the it factor.
If he keeps taking those punches that
I know. He took some
during
damage.
that fight, it's all like
he took
Wait, Jeff Neal landed some punches?
Yeah, Jeff Neal actually,
yeah.
like, I had to take back what I said because I was like, dude, I've never seen Jeff Neal fight like that. But his boxing was on point. Jeff Neal came in 5 pounds overweight, the weigh-in. Dana said after the fight, he gave them both like a $50,000 bonus for fight of the night. And he goes, I never do that with guys that come in like, 5 pounds overweight. He goes, that was one of the greatest fights I've seen like in a while. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I'll give it to him. The kid deserved it. It was a great fight. You missed it. But that guy, he's calling for Colby Covington next.
Okay.
That would be a great matchup. But this guy is on the rise. He's a top 5 future. He's a future 170 champ or at least title contender, I think. So.
All right.
What's his name?
Rachmanov.
No.
What?
Is it not Makachev, but
Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think he's fighting at 170 anymore.
I would think that would be an excellent.
fucking matchup. They're both from like very similar areas.
Kamshot. Kamshot?
Yeah.
Shot!
Come shot, take a shot.
Kamshot, take a shot. Kamshot, give a shot. Sweet nectar. So, we talked a little bit about 285, right?
280. Oh, UFC 285.
Let's 285.
I was like, that's not a weight class.
That's a big old boy. Why don't we look ahead to 286?
Let's do it.
So 286 main event. I'll just run through the card as a whole real quick. You've got the. I'll just read the top three. So you got Gunnar Nelson against Brian Barberena.
Okay.
You got Justin Gaethje against Rafael Fiziev.
I'll admit, I haven't seen that Fiziev guy fight, but I'm interested to see what that looks like, because obviously if he's fighting Gaethje, he must have some sort of...
Yeah, he must be pretty good. And then you've got the main event.
Usman versus Edwards 3.
Yes, the three. So why don't we just start there, because that's
really the one we want to talk about.
That's really the only one out of this card that anybody cares about. How do you see that playing out? Because right now it's 1-1. How do you see that?
So I agree that Usman should be favored because his track record versus Edwards' track record, I get it, that you can be like, well, it's kind of a fluke that he got head kicked. Me, though, because Edwards is going in as an underdog, if I can get positive money betting on Edwards, like, Edwards, I mean, I think he kind of like, in that second fight that they had last year, he was getting beat, but I don't think it was like, man, you're just getting outclassed. It just was kind of like, they were like, dude, where's your fight? Like, where's it at? They didn't think he was like getting worked. But that head kick, the fact that he's got that in his arsenal and can pull that out, I'm like, yeah, I like, now that Leon's won the belt, I feel like it's going to give him a lot more confidence to be like, yeah, I am that good. So I think he wins.
And in all honesty, I just pulled up the Vegas odds. They're not crazy one way or the other.
Oh, they're not? It's more even?
I mean, it's still a little bit leaning one way. I would have thought that it would have been further. So Vegas has it as Leon Edwards plus 200 to plus or minus 235 for Usman.
I would put
my money on Edwards.
Yes, because he's Leon or Usman's. That fight was last August or September, I believe. Maybe it was August. I think
it was middle to late last year.
Yeah. Because I remember I was watching it in the Airbnb I was at in LA, and I was like, I think I was texting with you guys, but like, you watch this? But the way I look at it, that's not a ton of time to come back from being head kicked.
Yeah, I mean, and he was knocked out pretty cold.
Bad.
Yeah. And how much of that was, Usman thinking, hey, I got this in the bag. All I need to do is just survive this round. And Edwards is like, hey, I need to bring out any and everything.
Yeah, Usman hadn't seen a whole lot of offense from Edwards in the last couple of rounds, so I think he just kind of got lulled to sleep and was like, all right, this will kind of be like easy, and then it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah. And I think it'll be a good fight. I do. I think for the sport as a whole, it's probably better that Usman wins. Just because I think Usman is a bigger name for the UFC.
Usman at this point is a bigger name, so I'll give you that, but I think it better for the sport in the long run because Usman's not a super exciting fighter. He's got too many.
He's not.
Yeah, he's got too many let me put you up against the fence and foot stomp you.
So either one wins. Just pick a person.
Edwards.
They're a fourth?
What do you mean?
They doing a fourth fight?
Depends on how this one goes. Because the first fight no one even remembers because they were both basically kind of like no names when it happened. So if it's like razor close, I think they could make an argument. Now, if Edwards like finishes him again, I think they'd be like, you've lost the trilogy, Usman, and the last two times you got finished. If Usman wins and finishes Edwards, it wouldn't take him, I think, very long to kind of be like beat a few, like maybe two guys, and then be like, I'm back for a title shot.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, and I think they would do it that way.
Yeah. Looking at the rest of that card, like we talked about, not a whole lot else on that card. Like
the Gaethje fight,
I like Gaethje. I don't think he's a champion at that weight class, but he's somebody who's always going to be towards the top.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about that welterweight fight.
No, from then on, I really let me see this. I don't really care about Gunnar Nelson. I don't. Marvin Vettori's fighting.
I don't like Vettori.
I don't really like him either, but he's at least a guy that's fought for a title.
I mean, he's
before.
a name, but I don't like him.
Yeah.
I know Jeff loves him.
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey.
Looks like fucking sloth.
Jeffrey, what are your thoughts on Usman versus Edwards 3?
Once again, to me, it just seems so played out by the UFC because they don't have necessarily the contenders in that weight class. And I mean, Edwards, I get it. You know, like he is from top to bottom. He's probably the overall guy that you want to see against Usman, besides Colby Covington.
Right.
But in the same sense, it's. I mean, almost saw him get knocked out by Nate Diaz at the very end of the fight. It's all like, it's funny to me, and it's almost kind of ironic how we see the transition from how Edwards ended the fight against Diaz, and then Usman ends the fight against Edwards. Because, I mean, when you're Edwards, like Anderson, you get caught. You get eventually stung because you're just so dominant at a division at some point. You know, Anderson, I don't even want to know what the odds were against Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. You know what I mean?
They were big.
And so on and so forth. It's the same thing with GSP and Matt Serra. You know, when Matt Serra stunned GSP with a stupid.
That wasn't that. I don't think that was as big, but that was like Matt Serra was just coming out of like being out of the UFC and he got like a second shot.
When you're just that dominant and you're on that streak and you're just mowing through the competition and there's no one left, and then all of a sudden Leon Edwards finally gains himself that that recognition. And then gets lucky
with
the
confidence.
It gets lucky with a head kick. Because if that fight goes to decision...
Usman wins.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He was on his way to win like 4 rounds to 1.
And that's the thing. Is Usman's going to come back stronger, better. He's going to come back more weary. He's going to come back more hindsight.
Jeff,
he's going to come back even stronger than he did against that last fight.
I don't think he can come back.
I don't think there's anything that Edwards can do in this next fight that prepares him to definitively win this fight by either decision.
So I'll throw 2 things out real quick to you because I know you stepped out. So we pulled the Vegas odds up on that fight. What do you think the Vegas odds are?
Usman's obviously the favorite.
He is.
Yeah.
How big do you think that it is?
I don't know. I mean, I want to say minus 200, 250.
That's your spot on.
Yeah, you're pretty close. So Usman's minus 235.
I mean,
Edwards
there's a reason why Vegas makes these odds. You understand that, right? Whether it's NFL, whether it's basketball, Vegas makes pretty good odds.
They don't like to lose money.
Exactly.
Well, they don't like to lose money, but I gotta be honest. There's been a lot of times they make some really dumb MMA
the scoring
predictions.
And the decision making, so on and so forth in Vegas. That's where it comes to. Okay, if you can get lucky and so on and so forth. But the fact that Vegas has a reason for why they label certain teams and players and fighters a certain odds.
I know,
There's
but
nothing in my brain that thinks that Edwards comes into this fight as the champion.
But he is the champion.
No, and granted, I understand that he is the champion, but once again, like I said, he gets lucky at the very end of the 4th, 5th round by a leg kick.
It was a head kick.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm all like, but overall, if you know what I'm saying, at the end of the fight, if that doesn't happen, the fluke of the leg kick,
we're not even talking about this.
Usman whoops him.
Yeah, but
it's probably unanimous decision.
I know, but
that's the beauty of the sport is you go 5 rounds.
Yeah, and Jeff, I got a problem. Like when you said it's lucky, like. Did Usman know that it's a possibility someone could throw a head kick at him? Yes.
Easily.
Did Edwards know I have a head kick in my arsenal? Yes. So that's my thing. It's like, I get what you're saying. Aside from that, he was getting worked. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think it's lucky. I mean,
it's the same thing, like I said. It's the same thing with Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman. I mean, nobody would have thought that Anderson Silva would have just downplayed his opponent. So on and so forth. Nobody would have came into the fight and said, you know what, Chris Weidman, he's knocking Anderson Silva out.
Yeah, no. I get that he was an underdog that did it, that beat a long reigning champion. I get all that.
And I get what you're saying because the UFC that's
the game.
That's the awesomeness of the UFC because
one shot can change the whole.
Amanda Nunes, so on and so forth. We get astronomical. You know what I'm saying, like.
It's not like tennis, football, basketball, where one shot's not going to like make you come back from getting your ass whooped.
You see a team win by 3 or 2 points or 1 point, and you're all like, "Oh my god, that was crazy." When you see somebody knock somebody out, it's all like in the UFC, it's all like, "Holy fuck, this!"
Yeah, it's the equivalent of a football team being up 28-3, but then you score and get all those points back in one shot.
When Amanda knocked out Cyborg, it was all like, "Oh my fucking gosh!"
Yeah.
And she kept knocking her out. If you ever watched that fight, first of all, she knocked her down. She got back up, knocked her down again. She tried to get
Cyborg had never been hit like that.
And Amanda just kept rocking her ass.
Yeah.
When I was in Buffalo Wild Wings at the time when I was watching that fight, everybody stood up and was just fanatic, you know. And so, I mean, granted, maybe some people were fanatic about that fight, but overall, 90% I think of people watched that fight and said, "Yeah, Usman's gonna just plow."
I thought Usman would win. I was rooting for Edwards, but yes, I thought Usman would win. And aside from the head kick he took, he would have won. But that being said, going into this next fight, you said you thought Usman would be stronger this time around. I get what you're saying, that he'll come back more motivated, all that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is he squeezes, from a physicality standpoint, he's the closest I've ever seen to somebody being like, I have no idea how you make your weight. I have no idea how he makes 170.
We're talking about different things, though. I think at this point.
Okay, well, physically, he cannot come back stronger than he is because he's peaked out.
I'm not saying physically.
I know you mean like mentality. He's going to come back. Yeah,
he's going to know that leg kick's coming. He's going to know that
keep saying leg kick.
He knows that the head kick. Like I said, like you said, he knows that the head kick's coming. And he can't lose by that. And I think that's literally the only thing he loses by Edwards.
I'm sure he trained like crazy in this camp to be like,
because there's nothing that Edwards did on his hands or on the ground or anything that made me oppose that, like, oh my God, Usman's going to lose this fight. It was literally just that random head kick that he got lucky on and Usman couldn't block didn't block.
A question that I posed to Chris was, is there a scenario of how this fight ends that we see a fourth fight?
No.
There's
no
way.
There's too much competition in the welterweight right now.
No, it doesn't have to be immediate.
It doesn't have to be immediate.
Just
is there a way?
I mean, down the road, of course, there's always, we've seen it before. What Matt Hughes and what GSP or Matt
we
Hughes
just saw Max Holloway and Volkanovski do.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's always down the road.
Is there a way that you see it immediate though? That's the next fight in the welterweight
because
division?
of, like we talked about, Cumshot. There's Colby. there's just too many guys right now.
This Rachmanov guy.
There's too many guys. I think right now at that welterweight division that it can't Burns. Be because even Gilbert Burns. If Gilbert Burns wins his next fight in unanimous fashion, he's coming back at once again.
He'd want revenge on Usman.
Even that fight against Cumshot. I mean,
that was a great fight.
Oh, it was a phenomenal,
awesome fight.
Gilbert Burns lost, but it was like this.
If you had disrespect for Burns, you immediately gained respect for Burns because it was all like, this guy just he's a crazy Brazilian.
He took on one of the biggest freaks in the sport that everyone's hyped up about, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll test you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just shows the competitiveness in certain fighters where they're like, you know what, I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to shy away from the competition. I'm going to fight this guy because he's the
So you guys brought me to where a transition that maybe depending on time we wrap the show up on. Is we just looked at 286. Let's look one more because 287 I think is the best card outside of the Jones fight.
Yeah, Pereira.
I think that's the best card outside of the Jones fight that we've had so far this year.
Hit me with it. What you got?
So title fight, you've got Pereira and Izzy. I'm hyped to see that again.
I am too.
You've got Burns and Masvidal for the BMF belt going 5 rounds.
I would love to see Masvidal now at a contender that's more versatile compared to. I mean, once again, we've seen him fight Usman. We've seen him fight certain guys that he complained about. Oh, you're not a stand-up fighter. Imagine fighting Gilbert Burns.
Well, can we?
Gilbert Burns gonna. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. If any slight moment in Kansas and the Vegas odds that Gilbert Burns is an underdog or anything, I am throwing thousands and thousands.
Real quick.
I'm throwing my whole savings account at Gilbert Burns.
Real quick. If Masvidal loses this fight, isn't there a chance he gets cut because he hasn't beaten anybody since Nate Diaz? No, he hasn't lost. Yeah. He hasn't beaten anybody since Nate Diaz in 2019.
He gets cut and he goes over to what's his name? Nate Diaz is probably.
I don't know.
Doesn't Masvidal
has his own fighting organization?
Masvidal's already had his own fighting organization, so he just goes over there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of crazy to think that like he was on top of the world after beating Nate Diaz. You're the BMF, all that kind of stuff. You knocked out Ben Askren. You knocked out Terence Hill.
It's almost like watching an NFL or a basketball game like we saw with KU in Texas.
Lord.
What?
I just looked up the odds for 287 for Burns versus Masvidal.
Yeah.
No.
Plus 500.
Don't even.
Masvidal?
Don't even.
Masvidal is plus 380.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Burns
that's
is
understandable.
minus 550.
Yeah,
That's kind of what it should be.
I kind of agree with that.
It's just I kind of expect it to be a little bit closer because of Masvidal's striking ability.
It's just
No.
he's got to
Just
prove that
because
he can
there's that
beat somebody.
chance.
But
You got to prove that he can beat somebody.
his striking ability against guys that are, like I said,
Inferior.
yeah,
Yep.
Ben Askren.
Yeah, Jorge's last two. Actually, no, his last 3 wins that year that he went on, beating Darren Till, Ben Askren, and Nate. Those 3 guys are not in the UFC anymore.
But there's some other fights on this card, guys.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So
Yeah,
after
that's fine.
Burns and Masvidal, you got Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Rob Font.
I know we watched him beat Cody Garbrandt. That
Yep.
was sad. But
Rob Font had a streak and he kind of fell off.
I think we all agreed that we watched Rob Font. We're like, yeah, you're good, but we don't see like world class.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but for a third fight on a card,
Yeah,
I
sure.
like that.
No, I don't even think a third fight on a card. That's
And
stupid.
and Jeff's gonna like this one. Kevin Holland against Santiago
Ponzinibbio? Okay.
I just like Kevin Holland.
I
because
know
he,
you
he
do.
keeps things exciting.
Scott's
I'm
hot
not
on that
saying Kevin-
Ponzinibbio guy. He's really hot on us.
I'm not saying Kevin Holland is a top 10 or even necessarily a top 15 fighter in his weight class, but the fact that he just keeps fights exciting.
But this fight, the one that we're gonna kick off 287 with, the first fight of the night, I think is an underdog.
Lay it on me.
Raul Ruiz Jr. against Christian Rodriguez. I don't know if you guys know much about Raul Ruiz Jr., the youngest guy to win a fight in the UFC.
Oh, okay. I think I maybe have seen him.
Yeah, real young guy.
Yeah. Because he was making like headlines because he was the youngest.
Because he's the youngest.
Whatever.
If he wins this fight, he's 7-0 in UFC.
I want to be clear. Are we watching this fight together? I would hope so.
I would love to watch this card together. So
Just such a burden to watch.
hey,
UFC fights with you guys.
it's April 8th. We got some time to figure this out.
Oh,
If
it's
you want
close to
us-
my birthday.
If you want us to come to Warrensburg, we'll figure this out.
No, what do you get? No, that's like close to my birthday. We're doing like casino.
All right, whatever.
I just don't think you think the main fight is going to be what you think.
But let's circle back to that main event.
Yeah,
Izzy Pereira
Yeah.
2. How does that turn out?
similar result. I feel like
I think it's even worse.
possibly.
I think Pereira just destroys it.
Have any of you guys played Legend?
I love the mentality, and I love if you ever actually watch Izzy and his post fights, if not like even on his spare time, how he talks about things, his perspective on life, and blah,
He's
blah,
very
blah.
smart.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy. He's very talented.
Which is why I think it's dumb that he's taking another fight against Pereira.
Yeah,
I
I would love to see him fight Whitaker again or something like that. But in the same
I'm
sense,
good. I've
Whitaker
seen
is
that
just
twice, done
he
that.
wants Whitaker instead of standing anymore. He wants to cross grab people. But I mean, Izzy as a person, I would love to hang out with him.
I really like Izzy
Yeah,
as a
but
person.
I
too.
think he's met his kryptonite with Pereira.
Well, so I was going to ask you guys: have you guys ever played Ocarina of Time for N64? Did you ever play that game, Zelda?
What?
Okay, all right. These guys are too cool for that. Anyway, there's a level in there where
Yep.
you Link, the main character, he faces like his shadow, and basically you can't beat him. That's how I feel with like Pereira. It's like it's basically a mirror image of like he does everything that you do, except he's better.
Pereira's, I think he's got the reach. He's
Well,
taller.
I told you like when
He has everything on.
Yeah.
when we watched that first fight, or no, I watched that at my place. My bad. I watched it and I was like, I've never seen a guy because Izzy kept trying to do the same stuff he normally does, and it normally works. But with Pereira, it was like I know what you're doing, man. He's like, I'm already onto it, and he kept flipping it around where he got cage control and had the center of the octagon. And I was like, nobody does that to Izzy. Izzy's always the guy in the middle.
I have
He's putting pressure
never
on.
seen anything like Pereira and Izzy. I mean, Pereira beat him in the kickboxing and then literally changed sports, hunted him down, found him, won fights in the UFC, came back and was like, I want that guy.
Yeah.
So
And beat him again.
Yeah.
okay, so not to call you out, Caleb, but if you actually watch that fight, it was more Izzy in the first round. Izzy actually had the control and actually was doing phenomenal until the second round.
Yeah, Pereira. Yeah,
Yes.
he caught on at the end. I give you that.
Yes,
But
Pereira eventually caught on, and then like I said, so technicality, a lot of people like to say like, oh, they stopped the fight early because Izzy wasn't actually, knocked out or blah blah blah. Which I think that's BS.
I thought it was a fine stoppage.
Because for the safety of the fighter, I think they actually did the right thing. But in the same sense, it wasn't like as if like Pereira went in there and just dominated the fight.
No,
that
it wasn't.
Was not the
it was.
case.
It wasn't
that
a
was not the
It
case.
wasn't a domination. But wouldn't you agree that was the first time we've seen Izzy where it's like he's on to what you're doing, Izzy?
But
like
in the same sense,
because Izzy usually is the one that dominates the octagon for
yeah.
however long they're in there. Whether
he's normally in control. He's normally in control.
Well,
he's normally in control.
Well,
what, Romero?
I mean,
that was a boring fight.
Even
Nothing
Whitaker
happened
when he finally had to knock him out. Even Gaslam.
Wait, hold on. Which Whitaker fight? The first one, Izzy had that.
No.
What did you watch?
I don't know which fight you were watching.
When he had to
talking to me or him?
When he had to finally two-piece him up at the very end, that fight.
He knocked him out in the second round. At the end of the first, he had him wobbled. What did you watch?
Gaslam.
That's a great fight. That's a good example. Yes, he did not control that fight. That was just a war.
But Izzy's normal MO
was the fight
is he controls everything.
There was the fight that
whether it's boring or not.
That Izzy came out and you can see he was mic'd up and whatnot, and he's like, I'm prepared to die.
That's Gaslam. That was Gaslam. And yes, that's the one you can put in your argument that you're like, yeah, he did not control that fight. That was just, fifth round, best man win, and he ended up winning it. But
and that's where I think we're not talking about Anderson Silva. We're not talking about guys like that at this point. Izzy has had some struggles to get to where he's at middleweight.
He's been a pretty good champion, but it's like he's not in the Anderson GSP levels of dominance.
Right. And Whitaker in the first fight tested him, and obviously, in the stand up, that's where Whitaker kind of lost.
But that second fight, Whitaker did a lot better.
And that's what I'm saying. Vittori, in the same sense, Vittori in that second fight.
Vittori's garbage.
And don't get me wrong. Vittori is fucking trash. But he used his strengths, and that fight was a lot closer than you would have thought.
Did we watch that fight? I feel like
no, we
had to leave early, right?
We left early, and then we looked at the fight.
Yeah, I think I missed it. I don't think.
And it was one of those. Like Izzy did. He was all like he threw his hands up, like, "Oh my god, this guy's trying to take me down."
Yeah.
Again. But I mean, how many fights have we seen where it's the stereotypical they win by split or unanimous decision because they just take him down?
Izzy's been doing a lot of that.
And Izzy is not the guy. Izzy is not going to be Vittori. He's not going to be Brunson. He's not going to be Whitaker. He's not going to take you down.
No.
He's going to stand and box with you.
Like Izzy's great wins that are not like decision. Well, I guess the Gaslam one's a decision victory. I think.
No.
Did he finish?
He finished him.
Okay.
I think in the fourth or fifth round.
That Gaslam fight's a great fight for him that he won. The first Whitaker fight was a great one that he won. Costa, he finished Paul Costa. That was a dominant victory. Okay, but that's the three, right? That's the three dominant victories that he has, or at least impressive victories.
In that span that he had, where he was on top of the world, so on and so forth. Because people kept thinking, I'm gonna fucking fight this guy. I'm gonna stand up with him. And then once guys started realizing, okay, I'm gonna take him down. Well, and then they still kept losing. And granted, to Izzy's perspective, I mean, the only other one loss that he's had against. Exactly. And it's because of predominantly he kept getting taken.
He got outsized. I mean, just like you're not.
And that's
what you're just not a 205er.
No. And that's where it's all like, if it was kickboxing, maybe this is a whole different discussion. But in the same sense, it's MMA, it's UFC. Guys want to beat him, so on and so forth. So they're going to take advantage on the aspect of what his weakness is.
So. Who are you guys taking in that fight? You got to put money on.
Oh, it's definitely because of the strategy and the style of Izzy. Izzy's not taking him down. He's going to stand with him, and I think Pereira he's that better of a kickboxer.
I don't
think
that
guy.
He's the kryptonite. He's just the kryptonite.
I don't think it's
that's it.
I don't think it's a fluke that they fought 3 times and Pereira's beat him 3 times. I don't think that's a fluke. Now that being said,
I thought it was twice.
Well, they fought twice in kickboxing. He lost both times, and then they fought.
I thought it was once in kickboxing.
I'm pretty sure it was twice in kickboxing.
Was it twice? Okay.
I think
you guys might be right.
I think he lost to him once in a decision that he thought was close, and then he lost to him by getting knocked the fuck out.
Maybe that was because the only loss that he has on his record is because of getting knocked out against.
Yeah. But
and then the second
one. Well, then you both. Because I'm with you, so we all three
think Pereira's going to win.
So anyway,
and we should all go to Vegas because the odds.
No,
is Izzy the favorite?
No, Izzy is the favorite. He is. I'm looking at it right now.
Get it right now.
I'm looking at it right now.
By what though?
Minus 155 to plus 135.
Pereira's
135 is not that much of a.
It's not that much of
but
a
it's
payout,
still,
but
I know, but it's still a little something.
You put $10 down, I think you win like $35.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
You
That's
want-
not bad.
What do you mean that's not bad? That's terrible. It's not like the
not
man
terrible.
Nunez and what's her name when I was all
Juliana
like,
Pena.
bro, put $10 down. You're
Juliana
gonna win
Pena?
like $600.
You would have been able to be like, Sam, we're going on a vacation.
Exactly. We're going to Disney World. But so those types of fights, like I don't want to put money on. When it's somebody's like 300 plus over, that's when I'm like, okay, I'll put 10,
Well-
I'll put $100 down, I'll put $50 down because the odds pay out eventually.
But real quick, if Izzy wins, so we're not saying it's impossible that he wins. It's possible he wins. Because like you said, that first round he was having success.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if Izzy wins because then you could do a trilogy, although I'm sure the 185ers would be
I
pissed off,
will
but-
admit, if Izzy wins, I think it depends on the type of fashion, so on and so forth. If he wins, obviously they run it back because of just I just don't think that because of who Dana White is.
He's not gonna
I
move
think a
on
lot
from
of
that.
people are going to be concluded on the fact that okay, it's 1-1.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's split decision, then that's where I can kind of see
Yeah, they-
like, you know, if Izzy knocks him out or whatever the case is, like in super fashion, I think somebody
You
comes,
have to.
I think somebody comes up in the ranks and maybe they don't have a third fight immediately. But if it's split or unanimous, that's when I think like, okay, we got to run.
I
it
think
back.
no matter what,
Yeah, I think-
if Izzy wins, they got to
I think
I
it just
agree.
depends
Because
on the
the
division
kick-
and who's fighting and who's winning.
I know, but because of the kickboxing background, everyone is saying what we're saying, which is like, dude, Pereira's got your number. And if Izzy squeaks out a win, people are not going to
Yeah,
be like,
but you got to realize
People are not going to let that go.
Yeah.
But you
exactly.
got to realize Izzy is more of a face than.
oh, for sure. But I'm saying,
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying us, the purists, we're going to be calling for like, hey, dude, why can't he get his rematch?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm trying to get at. The purist, you know, this and that.
because if there was
Bitch,
another 185er,
fuck.
It's just Red Bull.
if there was another 185er that was up and coming, because
I was
who's
about to say, you
the
asshole.
next up and coming 185er right now? Like Hamzat's now officially at 185er. He's not in 170 anymore. Is at least what he said. But aside from that, I don't know who's in 185 that's like the next
I
up
mean,
and
we
comer.
just talked about him at the last fight that we saw from.
Oh,
He's middleweight, or no? Wait,
No, he's
not.
light-
welterweight.
welterweight. Yeah, Rahman or whatever. So yeah, I don't know who the next 185er is besides maybe Hamzat.
That's very
Because it's
interesting.
Whitaker's there, obviously still.
What are you looking at?
Paulo Costa's there, I guess.
Looking
still.
it up.
You're just looking at the
Costa
rankings.
is-
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. He'd have to put in a lot of
You
work.
got Pereira, Izzy, Whitaker, Jared Cannonier,
oh yeah,
fucking Vittori.
yeah.
I mean, Whitaker is trying to bounce back, and he's got a fight
Yeah.
coming up. I'm pretty sure.
Whitaker's up there, and,
Yeah.
and Whitaker could get himself back in that conversation,
Yeah.
but there's not really an up and comer because after that
Yeah.
you got Paulo Costa, you've got this guy's actually moving up.
Who?
Dricus Duplessis.
Okay.
Oh,
Duplessis, isn't he fighting
Duplessis?
Whitaker?
I think it's Duplessis.
Isn't he fighting Whitaker?
Duplessis. He just moved up 4 in the most recent.
I know,
rankings.
Because he just won the last fight against he had against who was it? We just saw that. We were just at 285.
He was on the card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Duplessis.
Okay.
And
Well-
then you've got Strickland, Brunson. I mean,
If
Hermanson.
Strickland could get his shit together.
Yeah, if Strickland could get a win versus a top 5 guy, he could.
But he looked so garbage against Pereira.
I know, I
man.
know.
Pereira
I know.
just put him
I know.
into a
But
fucking
that's what
blender.
solidifies the.
So what I'm saying is, all those guys you named, pretty much like those first 5 past Izzy. Izzy's already beat all those guys, if once, maybe some of them twice. At least Whitaker twice. So it's like there's no hot name that's coming up.
Besides Duplessis.
yeah, exactly.
All right, so
So it sounds like the trilogy's gonna happen.
Can we move on to the aspect of McGregor versus
Well,
Chandler?
we've already talked about
We talked
that.
about it a little bit. Apparently they don't like each other now, which I don't really fucking buy. I just feel like
That's
it's
just
tough.
it's just a money grab.
Yeah.
Did we all see the? And I was kind of questioning. I was like, was that his wife when we saw
Touch
him
on his chest.
Yeah, I was kind of like.
We
is
never
that
saw
his
her
wife?
face. We never
Is
saw
that
her
his
face.
wife?
But-
Yeah, I saw more pictures, and it looked like his wife was sitting right next to him.
Well, that's
I
not
was
his
just
wife,
like-
by the way. It's his longtime girlfriend. He ain't marrying her.
But who do we have? Who do we have?
Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me objectively who I think could win, if Chandler ever used his wrestling in MMA,
I'm curious on the odds of that fight. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll see if they're out.
I think Chandler would be the favorite.
I think Connor is a slight favorite.
I doubt they're out
I think
yet.
he's.
but
I think
I'll
he's
look.
150 plus. I mean 150 minus. And then Chandler is +1.
Actually, this is a really, really, really odd Vegas odds. Like these odds don't ever happen.
Okay.
They're both minus 110 favorites.
That's actually what I think it should be.
They're both 110
That's what I think it should be. Don't get me wrong.
Because they're fighting at, they're fighting at
170.
At a catch
Yes.
weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's crazy. I cannot tell you the last time that I've seen in any event of any variety that somebody is going against an opponent and they're both favorites of some variety.
Here's the thing. People go like, Chandler's a wrestler. He hasn't used it in MMA, at least that I've seen, or at least UFC, he hasn't used it. So to me, he's seen Poirier.
You see glimpses, but yeah, like you said,
Poirier knocked out Conor.
But that's where he got like his background from, his wrestling.
I know, but it's like Gaethje. They don't use it. Once they learn how to strike and can knock
Guess
people out,
what?
they just stop using
he's
it.
from Missouri.
He is. But
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is,
Yeah, that Red Bull shot.
Take a shot of Red Bull.
oh great.
That was like juice.
Apple juice,
So-
baby.
Because if I'm Chandler, I've watched tape of like Conor getting knocked out by Poirier recently in the last couple of years. I think that basically he's going to look at this and go, well, my striking's great. I've knocked people out. He wants to put on a show. He said that many times. I think he's going to go in there and be like, we're going to stand and bang. Now, if Conor was this unstoppable machine his last couple of fights, and he's like, the only way I beat him is use my wrestling, I just don't think it's going to happen. This whole fight is put together.
Yeah.
To stand.
Yeah,
and put on a show.
There's no way Conor comes back to fight either Dustin or either...
No, they're coming back to fucking
or even,
throw.
what's his name? Charles Oliveira. There's no way Conor comes back to fight those guys because, yeah, you're looking to... Once again, like everybody's talked about, and I think we've talked about it in the off time, Conor needs to fight like this against a guy that's top 10
That's going to stand and bang with him.
to kind of push him back into the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
He needs this fight to be back in the top 5 names of, hey, I'm in there.
and Chandler's been known for that. Chandler stands with Gaethje. He stands with Dustin. He stands with everybody.
I would argue Chandler hasn't had a bad performance. He may have lost, but he hasn't had
And
a bad
that's what
performance.
that's
He's
what the
looked great.
phenomenal, if not like nice aspect of Chandler, because it's almost the perfect matchup for Conor. But in the same sense,
I think
You think it's a bad matchup for him?
no, I think it's a perfect matchup for Conor because
especially the reach, the height,
Yes.
everything.
we can all
Chandler's
agree,
also not young either. He's older.
we can all agree that Conor's major win against anybody is what? Counter striking, right?
Yeah.
That's what
It's what he
credit-
has the most over anybody else.
Chandler's going to come in there and want to be aggressive, right?
I would think so.
That fits right into what Conor wants.
Yeah.
Come in here, be aggressive. I'm going to counter your ass.
The only thing I worry about is, like I said, like Dustin was smart with the leg kicks against Conor that, like, basically kind of... No, but that second fight that
Yeah.
they had... When I say the second fight, the first fight they'd had in a long time, but the number 2 in their trilogy in Abu Dhabi. That fight, Dustin beat up the legs, kind of turned Conor into like a statue where he couldn't move a whole lot, and then he started like basically picking him apart.
But is Chandler going to be patient like Poirier was?
No, I don't think Chandler has the leg kicks. I'm not saying he doesn't have them in his arsenal, he can't do it. But
I think he can, but is he going to be patient?
He's never shown us that that's part of what he does.
That's not what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to like throw crazy kicks and then also do his punches.
When are they doing this fight?
They haven't officially announced it, but rumor on the street.
The end of the season is, I think, towards the end of May something.
I've heard August, September is basically the rumor
Yes.
of when it's probably
So
gonna
we're
happen.
for sure doing that.
but
one
the end of the
together,
season,
right?
I think, is
Yeah.
May.
Oh, of course.
Like no
Yeah.
question about
That's
that.
if you guys couldn't do it, I'd be like, you
And-
better have some fucking family emergency of why you can't be there.
Obviously, yeah, if there's some freak accident,
Yeah.
Chandler or Conor gets hurt. But yeah, the end of the season, I think they already projected is the end of... Maybe it was August. I don't know.
I think it's August is what I heard. Because
No,
July's supposed to be the John Jones Stipe
the
fight.
season itself, it's not August.
Because right now they only have UFCs booked out like officially through May.
Which, by the way, UFC 288 just
Hey.
got announced, and that's Cejudo versus Sterling.
Yeah,
That's May.
Oh my god, it's
Let's go.
Cejudo. I'm on
the
Team
two
Cejudo.
most annoying fucking...
I know, but that just means
No,
that
it
we're
does-
this much
it-
closer to Sugar Sean.
No, it means literally fucking nothing to me because
Might not mean nothing to
Cejudo
you,
is
but it means something to me.
Is the attention whore that wants to be irrelevant, and it's the same thing with Sterling. It's like you got so lucky, and then you finally beat Jan one time.
Good.
So then all of a sudden,
Let
Dana,
them beat it out, and at the end of the year, Sugar Sean.
I think Cejudo's dominating him.
Let's put a bow on this.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I hope Sterling beats Cejudo. I'm so tired of seeing him.
Oh, I don't
running
want anything
around
to do with it.
backstage as a fucking,
Sterling or Cejudo?
Cejudo. I'm.
Well,
so
how
done
can you
with
guys
this.
like an actor more than Cejudo?
No,
I don't get
no,
it.
I love because
I don't like either one of them.
I hate the fact that Cejudo's running around backstage trying to like fucking compete.
You want to fight?
Yeah, you want
fight?
You want this? You want this? Me.
I haven't fought in like 3 years, but you want this?
I'm just like, oh my god, you're so fucking annoying. You're so
Yeah, it has been 3 years. It was May of 2020 against Cruz. That was his last fight. Yeah.
I mean, if we thought that, what's the worst attention whore that we thought in the MMA, like Ben Askren or whatever? Cejudo is.
Cejudo's worse than that.
Cejudo just tops him by far because he's just once again running around
backstage. I do think it's funny.
You want to fight?
When actual fighters are fighting, and he's just like,
Pussy.
hey, so. I'm the champ, right?
I think it's funny that he
you want to fight? You want to fight right now?
He retired.
I'm just like,
I think it's funny.
The fuck up, you midget.
He retired and he was like, "Yeah, Uncle Dana's not paying me what I think I'm worth." And Dana was like, "Dude, I don't give a shit. You're not anybody to me." And he's like,
Yes.
"I'll move on." So it's just funny that now he's coming back.
He's not like Francis or McGregor where they're like, "Okay, I'll go to boxing." He's literally nothing. He's literally fucking nothing. God,
Garbage.
he's so annoying.
So annoying. Well, anyway, I'll still take Cejudo in that fight. But anyway, all right, let's wrap it up. We've taken a lot of shots, so I'm very happy about that. Join us on the next Take a Shot podcast. Will probably be the post fight. It'll be afterward.
Maybe.
No. But I'm saying the next one we'll be able to talk about what happened with Edwards and Usman 3. So anyway, that's it for us. Take a shot. Have a good one.